listening to not shootouts, but I was listening to live nigga rap today.
Of course you were.
Because we was just talking about how much I love that record. And it's
Like
like,
you
man,
made you go play the record. I
that
know
shit
you. Right.
sounds like, and why I love it so much, it sounds like a Mobb Deep record on a Nas album.
That's what the setup is. I told you could
Yeah.
take this. You could take the beat from the setup and put it on Hell on Earth or
Yeah.
the back end of the Infamous.
Yeah.
Like you could put the setup beat wise right next to Right Back at You with Ray and Ghost. Like right, you could play them back to back.
I think,
Yeah.
man, Prodigy setting it off and Nas closing and having Havoc in the middle and with production, that would have been a perfect trio right there. That's kind of one of those, I don't want to say Jay Beans and Scarface type trios, but that's a really
No,
good trio right there.
it's not like that because
It's not like that because
Hold
Havoc's
on,
not
because
that.
Beans
But
would be
yeah.
the third guy in that race, and Havoc is like nowhere near Beans. You
But
feel what I'm
the
saying?
production that Havoc makes up for, you know what I'm saying?
You make a very valid point. You make a
Because
very
if he's
valid
in
point
the
about
group,
moving
he's
some
doing
prime
that
Nas
kind
and
of
Prodigy
production.
over. No, I've always told you one of his career like things that he could have done about some of the things that was said was do more tracks with Havoc, like that street stuff that he does with Havoc. Because Havoc just doesn't sound great on his records. He sounds great on the Mobb Deep stuff. Matter of fact, he sounds better on the Mobb Deep stuff than they sound on his stuff.
He sounds different on their shit. And I think
he is different.
Yeah.
They make him think different.
Michael Williams with the super chat says, "Did you see that Premier and Nas track dropping on the 15th?" Yeah, we saw it. We're gonna talk about
We're
it.
going to talk about it.
You know,
did you not put it in the show lineup?
I did not put it in the show lineup. We dedicated this one to the 35th anniversary of Paid in Full. But what I was gonna say is, man, maybe that's where people get this whole Nas beat picking thing from, because we've heard him on Havoc's track sound the way he sounds, and we've heard him on RZA track sounding the way he sounds, Pete Rock track, whatever. And I think maybe that's where the whole Nas beat picking thing comes from. Premier tracks. What do you think?
Really? I don't know about that. I think it was written has a lot to do with that. The whole Trackmasters thing. I thought that's where that started. I thought it was a Trackmasters thing.
You know, I don't really remember that narrative being there for It Was Written, but I do remember it happening on I Am.
Well, here's also no, I don't feel that way about I Am, because here's what I'm saying. Even with the Preem thing, one of the things that was said production wise about It Was Written was because Preem had rose to such prominence as like the go-to hip hop producer. Was that, well, Illmatic had 3 Primo tracks and It Was Written only has 1. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying about the production being brought into question. It's like, because that's what really they were saying about Trackmasters. It's like, hold on, you let Trackmasters make like 8 or 9 tracks, but Primo only got 1, Havoc only got 2. And it's like, well, that's not a totally... In 1996, saying that really isn't a false claim. That's not a bad claim to make. It just doesn't mean Nas is a bad beat picker because of it. You get what I'm saying? It's like, should it probably have been like, I don't know, 5 Havoc tracks, 3 Primo tracks, and then like 3 or 4 Trackmaster tracks? Probably. And think about it, probably would have even been better than it was had that happened.
Right.
But it didn't happen. But when people make it seem like you didn't rhyme to the message, Mike. I mean, you used to be an MC. You haven't rhymed to the message before. Yeah. Yes, you have.
That's just dope.
Live nigga rap. You want to rap to that?
Shootouts is dope.
You ain't never rapped to shootouts or affirmative action before. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like
007 with the super chat says, Live Ninja Rap was supposed to be on Mobb Deep's album, but Havoc said it was a marketing move to put it on Nas' album because, you know, It Was Written was anticipated. It sounds like it. It sounds like that. I mean, the way he's even rhyming on there, it kind of sounds like how he's rhyming on Eye for an Eye, right? It's a different Nas that you get.
He has to be on his QB shit with them. There ain't gonna be no philosophizing, all right?
I mean, even just his delivery and his voice, like the
vocal
pitch.
That's what I mean. No,
yeah, the vocal pitch that he's on Live Nigga Rap is
sharper.
Crazy.
He's liver. No, he's
sweet.
sharper. He's liver.
Yeah.
I told you he's on his bridge. Like, yeah, because he's rapping next to Prodigy and Havoc. They didn't come to make you think about shit. They came to make shit happen, Mike.
It's an interesting combination, man. And I think that even when it comes to like the Firm and the whole narratives behind that, I think the expectations were just up there and it didn't meet them. Now, who do you blame mostly for, I guess, how the Firm project was received, or the Firm album? We've never really talked about that, and that wasn't really in the show notes, but we talking.
So you want like what's wrong with the Firm album in order?
We could do that. Yeah, what's wrong with the Firm album? Like if the Firm album came out today and it was on a Friday and we're reviewing it like we just talked about West Side's album, what would you have to say about it?
First of all, I'll be telling you how I've already played Phone Tap 17 times, and therefore it made it difficult for me to listen to the album more than 2 times. That would be the first thing that you would hear me say.
You like Phone Tap like that?
Phone? Okay, so what's wrong with Phone Tap exactly?
That's I didn't say anything was wrong with
beats. They got Nas and AZ on a back and forth telling a story. It's even got the production. It's got the production sentiments of like a fully composed Outkast song, down to how they're using the vocals, down to the intro where they're doing the wiretap before Yotis Esco. No, it's got everything. It's
this is the thing. And maybe this is just me or whatever, but that style of production that Dre was on Phone Tap, it reminds me of that whole era of Dre. That's probably my least favorite era of Dre. You know what I mean? Not to say the Phone Tap is bad or anything, but it reminds me of that whole been there, done that era of Dre.
Okay, so look, Firm Fiasco. You don't like Firm Fiasco?
It was cool.
Firm Fiasco's pretty dope. Taking the whole Goodfellas thing. I like that skull. You didn't like that? You didn't like AZ on there? 200 Fallen Angels, we balling from every angle. Like AZ's, hold on, that's another thing. If we want to talk, let's just start from the top of what's wrong with the Fur album. Lack of cohesion.
Okay.
How's the Sly and the Family Stone song go? Every nigga is a star.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the problem. There's too many stars in the building in 1997. Dre's in the building, and Dre's still trying to find his way through his thing. Star in the building. Nas has become a multi-platinum rapper. Star in the building. Huh?
Was production a problem? Because a lot of people in the room are blaming Dre.
We're getting to it. Lack of cohesion is the first thing, because when you got egos, you can't get shit done. So we got Dre, multi-platinum producer and rapper. We got Nas, who's now a multi-platinum rapper. People forget this. AZ went gold and went platinum before Nas did. Okay? In 1995, Sugar Hill went platinum as a single. Do or Die went gold. All right? That shit didn't happen to Illmatic. Okay. So another star in the building. Foxy Brown is fresh off selling what? 1.5? She did a couple million.
She did a lot, yeah. She was a star. She was the biggest, I don't want to say the biggest star. Nas is Nas, but I think in the moment, if we want to talk about 1996.
Comparable.
Yeah.
Pretty big, and this is 97 now.
That's I'm sorry, 97. And she's coming off of her debut in 96. Right. Yeah.
So lack of cohesion is the biggest problem, because everybody's got their camp, their crews, their clique, and everybody's a star. So there's just too many niggas in the room in general. It's not just Nas, AZ, Foxy, Dre, and Nature in the room like it needs to be. That's one. 2 is the production, because what you'll find on this album, well, the stuff Dr. Dre does is great, and the rest of the stuff is not.
Well, I think that the producer's job, the executive producer, because I think he was one of the executive producers, right? Their job is to hone in all of those things to make it a great project. He's the coach. Like, you got to be Phil Jackson, right?
No, if you're talking
to hone in
production,
all those egos, right?
Hold on. You want to know what? You know what you just made me want to actually say? We need to separate executive production from musical production in that regard. So the lack of cohesion would be first. The executive production of that album would be next.
I think we had a comment in one of our posts. I think we were talking about producers and this and that. I think it was in the Pete Rock and Diddy conversation we had. And people were talking about, like, I guess that whole argument about what a producer is and what a producer's role is. And people always seem to bring up Quincy Jones and what he did. I think what people got to understand is being a producer in hip-hop is much different than being a producer in any other genre for a lot of different reasons, right? Mostly because at the end of the day, hip-hop production is based on sampling, right? There's not a lot of guys who are just coming up with original stuff, and that's fine. But when we talk about somebody like a Quincy Jones, he's more of an arranger because they're doing original stuff. you're bringing in musicians, you're bringing in writers, you're bringing in individual guitar players to play this, bass players to play this, keyboardists to play that. His job as a producer is to arrange, which isn't the reality for most hip hop producers. When you go out there and you're finding a loop and this and that, like the executive production when it comes to hip hop is a little different.
Okay, so as I look over this track listing, it is like almost exclusively Dr. Dre and Tone and Poke.
Okay.
So what I think when you're talking about the executive production, it almost feels like, well, Tone and Poke had their session and Dre had his sessions, and they tried to go back and forth. Because one of my problems was the sequencing of the album. But now that I'm looking at the actual track list, first of all, why are Tone and Poke doing most of the production work on an Aftermath project? So that's what I mean. There's something ego-wise going on with Steve Stout and Nas around this time where Tone and Poke are in there too much because Stout's managing them and Nas. You feel what I'm saying?
It's just too many people overall because, again, this was an Aftermath Interscope album,
what I'm saying.
Which is wild how that actually happened because you got Nas at Columbia, you got Foxy Brown at Def Jam. Where was AZ at the time? EMI, okay. None of these are Interscope artists. And so how is... You know what? I'm sorry. This is an Interscope album, and it's executive produced by Dr. Dre. This is on Dre.
Right. Because let's go down the production credits right quick. Firm Fiasco is produced by Dre. Phone Tap is produced by Dre. Executive Decision... I love Executive Decision, by the way. That's Tone and Poke.
Mm-hmm.
Firm Family is Dr. Dre and The Glove. Dr. Dre and The Glove are doing all these tracks together.
Who's The Glove?
Firm All Stars is Tone and Poke. Fuck Somebody Else is Dr. Dre and The Glove. Hardcore is Tone and Poke. Untouchable is Dr. Dre and Mailman. 5 Minutes to Flush is Dr. Dre and The Glove. Desperados is Tone and Poke. Firm Biz is LES. I'm Leaving is Tone and Poke. Throw Your Guns is Tone and Poke.
Who is The Glove? Antonio with the super chat says, I don't care ever. I'm sorry. I guess
Chris Taylor.
Okay. I guess he's saying, I don't hear anyone say The Firm Biz was a dope song. That album as a whole had potential, which is why it's so disappointing. It was unfocused.
So this is what I mean about the sequencing being wrong. First of all, Firm Biz shouldn't be on this album. It fits nowhere in there. That's what I'm saying. This is almost like everybody's ego is involved. It's only LES track too. It's almost like, where did y'all get that from? And why is it the first single? Because you're already doing hardcore. Like the hardcore joint with Nas and Foxy going back and forth, that's cool. I actually don't mind hardcore. But it's like, is that fitting into the idea of what a Firm album should sound like? You know what I mean?
I love Square Biz. But I don't think Square Biz has any business on a rap album with these guys. I'm sorry.
Right. So it's like Desperados. It's like, well, that's one of the better beats on there. Why isn't Nas on Desperados? See, these are executive decisions, pun intended, that need to be made.
He was on a remix of Desperados, right? I heard a version.
Nobody cares about that once the album is already failed.
I feel you. It should have been on the album.
It's like, the lineup for Desperados should have been Cannabis, Nas, AZ. Period.
Straight up.
All right.
LP with the super chat says,
I'm leaving. As much as I love I'm Leaving, how is that Firm stuff when you got Nature and Noriega? That's Noriega's coming out party too.
Right.
A lot of people don't know I'm Leaving is from what, Mike?
What you mean?
Where do you take I'm Leaving from? That's your boy, Mike. That's Q-Tip. I'm leaving. That's the Low End Theory, Mike.
The first thing that I'm thinking is Mos Def on Traveling Man, but you're right. That is on the Low End Theory.
Yeah, that's Q-Tip from the Low End Theory with I'm Leaving. Hip hop lesson, guys.
LP with the super chat says, this is why Takeover don't make sense. In 10 years, Nas dropped 4 solo albums, The Firm, Belly, QB's Finest, and countless features. They said he was lazy. Well, there's a lot of narratives out there that don't make sense.
This is what I mean. Like some of this stuff, to be honest with you, you want to know what's wrong with this album?
What's that?
This is mixtape shit. It's like, I love Desperados, but it's like, that's mixtape shit, Mike.
It is.
Throw Your Guns. I love Throw Your Guns with AZ and Half a Mil. That's mixtape shit, Mike. I'm Leaving is borderline some mixtape shit. Borderline.
Mad Max with the super chat says, in an era of rap crews, Nas didn't do a good job building his building his AZ and him. I guess he met Foxy. Him and AZ should have had collaborative albums. I guess he's saying AZ and Nas should have had a collaborative album, and try to run rap as prolific lyricists. I mean, I think that's what everybody really, really wanted. Because after Life's a Bitch, it was like, we need these two guys together.
No. We got work with them together. Yeah. I think also what goes understated too. This is what I mean about how Throne happened.
Well, I mean, like a whole project.
Everything that happened with Cormega affected this too.
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't talk about that. Those are the understated things about when egos get involved and stuff like that. But this album, this is what I mean. Like, the Firm fails you because it starts off wonderfully. Firm, Fiasco, Phone Tap, and Executive Decision. Those are the best songs on there, in my opinion. Actual songs. It actually fits into the theme. They're the Firm. So Firm, Fiasco, and taking the Goodfella stuff, then going into Phone Tap, and then going into Executive Decisions. No, that made sense. And then it goes to Firm Family, and it's like, okay, cool. But then the whole "we are the Firm All-Stars, fucking your bitch, we don't care who you are." It's like, hold on, I thought this was a gangster rap. Oh, what are we doing? I thought y'all on the West Coast making some East Coast, West Coast gangster. And then it got a little sweet in the middle. Firm All-Stars, Fuck Somebody Else, the solo record from Foxy. It's like, how Foxy get the solo record? Anyway,
I told you, she was the star.
But that's...
Yeah.
Not really, though, Mike.
But I know what you mean. I feel you, not really, but
I'll
she's
tell you
Foxy.
this, Mike. Il Nana didn't outsell It Was Written.
I'm saying this. She's automatically going to stand out. She's the woman in the group.
She's the woman in the group. And I get that.
And she was a star in her own right. So a lot of that stuff was kind of centered around her in that way.
No, and I get that. First of all, let's get the Fuck Somebody Else. The record's just not that good. It would have been different if the record was dope. It's not like Foxy Bells or the Il Nana track with Method Man or Al B. It's not to that level. So if that was the best that she could do around that time, they needed to scrap that, especially since the track right after it with Hardcore, the back and forth with her and Nas is a little bit more decent and solid if they're trying to showcase her. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Boy King with the super chat says AZ's flow on that intro was influenced by $500,000. RIP $500,000. Reggie says, guys, continuing this conversation, what were the problems with Jay-Z, Ice Cube, Tupac, Outkast, and Mobb Deep's lowest rated albums? Yeah, we can get to all of that. Antonio with the super chat says the Firm Biz remix was my jam too. Their live performance on Keenan Ivory Wayne's show was better than the album cut, in my opinion. I need to go back on YouTube and check that out. We got some more super chats to get to too, real quick. Go ahead.
So we're at Hardcore at track 10. Let me stop and say something to you. You know, part of the problem, this is what I mean, I'm going to bring up the whole Cormega thing. You remember the La Familia track, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you're halfway through this album, you're like, well, damn, that record's better than every record on here except Phone Tap. Where's Cormega? You get what I'm saying? This album not being to the level of that record outside of Phone Tap made you kind of feel like it's like, damn, did they fuck up when they kicked Mega out the group, or like what's going on? Because if you heard the La Familia record, you're like, ooh, you've been hearing Foxy on I Shot You remix. You're like, ooh, you're hearing Affirmative Action. You're like, ooh, you're hearing More Money, More Murder, Homicide. You're like, ooh.
Right.
You don't get none of that. There's no More Money, More Murder, No Homicide on here. Like I told you, Phone Tap's that's why I was like, you know, I love Phone Tap. Phone Tap is clearly like the shining gem of this album. Like
the best song on the album, hands down.
But look, when we get to Untouchable, that's Wizard. Wizard got a whole little whole little interlude.
Matt Max with the super chat says, I had Mobb Deep in your back pocket, AZ, who's better than Hove at the time, and Foxy to match Kim. You supposed to take over. Nas act like the king don't matter. Born King says, exactly, Coop. That Cormega fallout made things go downhill. Mega was missed on this project.
Was. Because you want to know what this project needed? It needed a real live street dude who hadn't become a star yet to like tell the truth. And Mega wouldn't have been the star in the room, but he's like, you know what I mean? He's from the block and respected by those.
He would have been the glue guy on that team.
He would have been the glue guy on the team. They needed a glue guy. They needed a Draymond.
I was going to say
they needed a Draymond.
I was going to say
definitely would have been Draymond. You feel me?
Yeah.
And see, because here's the thing. Because you pull Nature in, Nature just wants to play his position. So he's going to take whatever bar work you're giving. Mega wouldn't have taken it like that. and Mega would have told niggas shit's not hot. It's like, yo, Fox, you need to do that over. We get her another beat. Pick another beat out for Fox, Dre.
I don't know, man. I think when Dre's over a project, and again, his resume speaks for itself. I think it's either his way or the highway. And this clearly was a Dre project. You know, when you think about it,
what I'm trying to tell you is
kind of the first. This was kind of the first swing at Aftermath. If we keep it real, like imagine if this actually would have turned into something great, right? Imagine if this was the classic that it could have been. Would this have set off Aftermath Entertainment, and would we have seen different things moving forward for Aftermath? Because with this not working, Aftermath just totally changed directions. You know what I mean?
So here's what he tried to do. He really tried to make his East Coast version of the Chronic. And but what I'm trying to tell you is that, like, well, he picked the team that didn't have their synergy or their chemistry going. They had just switched group members before they even come out with a full-length project together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And people, and this is what I mean is that Nas is fresher off of his success. Like, how about this? AZ and Foxy showed up later than Nas and became stars sooner in terms of, like, record sales.
Yeah, but again, I think what Nas did on Illmatic kind of broke down doors for that to happen. But,
absolutely.
Yeah.
But Tone and Poke being on here is pretty much saying Steve Stout got me winning. I'm rolling with Steve Stout and Tone and Poke.
Well, he's the executive producer on the project, too. So I'm pretty sure Steve Stout had a lot to do with actually bringing this together, because again, Steve Stout's the guy who actually got Still DRE over to Jay, and was the kind of bridge between Jay, Jimmy Iovine, and Dre too. So
and Dre should have been like, well, you know, I'm the executive producer of the Chronic and Doggy Style, straight out of Compton, and niggas for life, and no one can do it better. So why don't you tell those dudes to send me 3 or 4 of the best tracks? Tell them to come in the studio when I'm ready. You feel what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about, is what he really should have done as an executive producer was that. It's like, no. And if you'll notice, after the Firm project, he handled shit that way with other producers. That's why I'm saying that. Including Preem. Preem had to submit tracks to Dre once. Where do you think that came from, Mike?
Right. LP with the super chat says, y'all said that I turned pop on the Firm flop, and even Dre took offense to being called pop. Or an album that was multi-platinum being called a flop.
I've never heard of a platinum album like this being called a flop. It was just platinum when it flopped, though. It did sell 1 million plus this first year, like 1.5.
But I mean, the guys that's on it, I mean, isn't that the expectation? I mean, you got superstars on it. Yeah. Clayton is asleep with the super chat says, even that record I mentioned a couple of weeks back is better. The Firm with Mega rapping over the hard to handle sample fire track. We got another super chat here. LP says, Dre needed the white boy, Mike. LOL. Hey man, you know, I think that
don't do that.
I think that I'm not gonna go there today. You know, I know somebody, it's a DJ, man. He was like, yo man, next time y'all talk about Eminem, man, y'all gotta have me on the show. He wants to talk about it from a DJ's perspective. But anyway,
fascinating.
I do think that the Firm turning out the way it did open the door for Dre to say, you know what, I'm going to change directions a little bit, and we need to take on this artist, or however that came together, because, again, there's a million origin stories. I'm not going to act like I know which one is the real one. But, but I do think that if the Firm succeeds, we're probably going to see a Firm 2. We're probably going to see more East Coast artists in the fold with Dre. I think after this happened, it's like, look, we're going to do this with Eminem, and I'm about to take it back to the West. Born King with the super chat says, look how dope the song Full Circle was on with Mega on it. Yeah, I mean, Full Circle had Mega on it.
I was about to say, AZ's verse on Full Circle was one of our top 20 verses in our inaugural 2020 Hip-Hop Yearbook.
Yeah, definitely.
Dialogue superb, flies crossing the curve. Word, when I evolved, the higher God emerged. Yeah.
AZ's nice, dope, man. Yo, even the album he put out last year, Do or Die 2, crazy.
Yeah, top 5 rap album last year.
Oh, definitely.
Album of the year contender, easy.